Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to build this simple video app powered by ZEGOCLOUD and also with minimal lines of code. So just like you know about Zoom and others, we are going to set up a call ID. So I'm going to say 123, and whoever has this ID of 123 can join this video session. So this is just made for one-to-one, so just two people. So what I'm going to do is also enter the same on my physical device, and I'm going to hit join call. And on my physical device, I'm also going to hit join call. And as you can see, the two devices are connected. I'm going to mute my mic here so that it doesn't interfere. So I'm going to flip my camera so you can see my screen right here. Okay, so yeah, you can see my mouse moving. You can see that's actually my screen. And this is done with a few lines of code. And all these options are provided for us with the SDK we are going to use, which is powered by ZEGOCLOUD. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's get started. The simplicity of this app is made possible by ZEGOCLOUD. ZEGOCLOUD is a global communication service provider that provides developer-friendly, powerful SDKs and APIs to help you integrate common features that we are used to seeing in our day-to-day voice and video chats, live streaming apps, and so on. And they are trusted by over 4,000 businesses. Okay, now one of my favorite features is their pre-built UI kits. You don't have to worry about how your UI is going to look. You just need to implement the code, and it's just a few lines of code. It's mostly termed as low code, okay, and it will take care of the UI and give you the common features that you normally see. As you can see, they provide a lot of powerful SDKs and APIs for almost all the platforms that are out there. So you have for native Android, iOS, web, Flutter, of course, React Native, Windows, macOS, and Electron. And you can check at the top bar here and you can see all the services and products that they provide. So we can have video calls, in-app chats, Springboard, and this is a game changer for me because you don't really always have to worry about the UI. You always want to worry about how your code will work. And then ZEGOCLOUD provides pre-built UI kits, as I mentioned, and this really takes care of everything for you. You can always read more about ZEGOCLOUD and see for yourself what they do. Their solutions include social, educational, telehealth, e-commerce, and fitnesses, and you can go through and read more about this. So let's see how we can get started. Simply click on sign up, and once you are brought to this page, you can see when you sign up you get 10,000 free minutes, and this is equivalent to about 160 something plus hours. So this is enough for you to test drive a lot of applications, even build mini projects for your portfolio, and you can show them off. So I think this is a really good deal. So first things first, you fill in your details. So I'm going to just go ahead and do this. And then if you're wondering where I'm from Ghana. I already have an account with one of my emails, so I'm going to use a different email here. Now, once you've gotten to this part, all you need to do is hit on get code, and you just need to fill up this CAPTCHA to move on. So all we need to do is onion. So we can just select all the pictures that contain onions and verify. Now you would receive an email with your code sent to you. So just go ahead and then enter that. So after entering your code, you can go ahead and create your password. So I'll create a password. And after you create your password, you simply have to check this. Make sure you read the terms and conditions. I'm going to go ahead and check that and then start your free trial. Once you land on this page, you just need to complete this, and it's nothing much. If you don't have a company name, just make up one. So I'll just make up one. And then your company website isn't necessary. The job title, you can just pick any to move on. And then the industry, you can just also pick any to move on. Now go ahead and fill in your phone number. So select your country and then fill in your phone number. Of course, I'm not going to show my phone number. So once you're done, just hit continue and you should be good to go. So once you hit continue, you get to see some of the benefits that you sign up and you get. So you can see we have 10,000 minutes over here. And then it has a simple expiry date, and you can join their communities if you want to. So click and go onto the dashboard, and this is a very clean looking dashboard, as you can see. So what we want to do is first create our project. So simply click on this, and then you can see all the services that they provide, as I mentioned. So video and voice call, video conference, live streaming, live audio rooms, in-app chats, a whole lot you can do with this. So for us, we are interested in the video and voice call, as you saw earlier in the video. So simply select this and then head downwards and click on next. Now give your project a name. So I'll just call this Zego_Flutter video. Let's call that Flutter video. So this doesn't have to match with your Flutter project. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure you don't give spaces, that won't work. So when we get here, we have two ways to start. So at the beginning of the video, I did mention that you can use your pre-built UI kits and you would just have to embed less than 10 lines of code. Okay, and you can see these are the lines of code that are made available to you, depending on the platform you want to use. Now, if you want more control and want to customize the UI and do everything yourself, you can still use their powerful SDKs, which allow you to create and customize everything yourself. But in this video, we are going to go ahead and then start with UI kits. Okay, now just to mention this, I am on Brave browser, and if you know, Brave usually has an automatic shield on, which is here. If your shield is on and you try clicking on this button, it isn't going to work. So in that case, you just turn it off and then click on it. I've had this with this site and a few sites, so it has nothing to do with the site. It's just Brave browser. If you open this on Chrome, it's going to work perfectly. So go ahead and click on this. So in case you experience that issue, just disable your shield and click on this. So our project is building, and I'll see you when it's done. Right, so once your project is done, you just need to pick your use case. In our case, we are dealing with Flutter, so we go ahead and click on Flutter. So this is a really nice image to show you what you can build. And all we need to do is scroll down and go on to the right-hand side. So you can close this. You go onto the right-hand side and then save and start to integrate. Once you're on this screen, we are going to notice that we are giving our app ID and our app sign. These are very important as they'll play a big role in setting up our Flutter application to work with ZEGOCLOUD. So we'll be visiting this when we need it. But to get this started, let's simply click on the quick start. Over here, you can see because we selected Flutter, we already have that on us. And then they have a very quick video tutorial that can show you how to get started. And the nice thing is they've documented everything you have to do to get this working, so you don't really have to stress this. Okay, so it will amaze you that probably the longest thing we'll be doing is actually coding the UI for the app. Everything is going to be very quick and very fast when we are using ZEGOCLOUD pre-built UI kit. I'll show you my Flutter project. I have already run the app. I have cleaned up the UI. So you can see this is the main.dat. I have simply cleared everything and then created this home screen, which is right here. And this home screen is just a stateful widget, which returns a scaffold, and that's what you're seeing. I have also gone ahead and added an image to my paspec.yaml. So if I go over to the assets, images, I have this image right here. That's all I have done for this application. I didn't want you guys watch me clean this since we've seen this several times already. Heading back, the first thing we need to do is run this to add the Zego pre-built plugin. Now, if you want, you can go to pub.dev and you would notice that they already have their UI kit here. So it's not just on the website, you can find them here and you can read more and see how you can use it. But I'll just go ahead and then copy this line of code and then go to your terminal, and then you can paste this here and simply run this. Once that's done, you should see this, and you can go to the paspec.yaml and you should see it's right in here. This is the same as just getting it from here by copying this and then pasting it, as we've always added dependencies throughout and almost any app you are building that you need to add a dependency. So the next step is to build this call page, and we'll need to import this as we build this call page. So let's go ahead and implement that. Let's create a new file called call page. I like to call my pages screen, so I'm going to call them screen because we are dealing with a phone. They are called screens and not pages. I just like to do that. So I'll call it a call screen. And this is going to be a stateless widget. And I'll call this call screen. And then this is going to return the Zego UI pre-built call kit. So I'm going to remove this. And then we are going to return the Zego UI pre-built call. And then as you can see, this requires a number of things from us. Our app ID, the app sign, the call ID, user ID, username, and then a config. And all of these are laid out here. I could just copy this and paste, but I don't want to do that because it feels kind of too cheap. Even though that's the purpose of making this UI kit, just to make everything a lot easier for you. You can see it's just a short line of code. But I want to take my time and implement this so that you can understand how this works. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create another file, and I'll call this secrets.dat. And I'll create a class here called secrets. And over here, we are going to save our app sign and keys here. Okay, so I'm going to make this static so that I don't have to create an instance of this class. And I'm going to call this our app ID. This is going to be an integer. So if you want, you can use the int property. And then I'm going to duplicate this. And then this is going to be a string. And then this is going to be our app sign, which we'll be dumping in here very soon. So to get these, remember I showed you in the console. So head back to your console. So you can just go back. This normally opens in a new page, which is good. So you can go back to your admin console and you will find your app ID here and your app sign here. So quickly copy that and then head back to VS Code to the secrets and paste that. Then you can head back and copy your app sign and then come back here and then paste that. Then we can head back here and start to implement these. So first off, we have our app ID, which is needed. So we can simply call our secrets and then use the dot operator and access the app ID. And then we can do the same for the app sign. So we can just call secrets and then add the app sign. Now we need to pass the call ID over here. Now this call ID is basically going to be what connects the two users during the call. So think about when you have a Zoom meeting and then you are given a meeting ID or a special access code, and then you have to enter that at your side to join that specific call. So this is how this works. This is also the call ID. So for example, if I have this application and I enter then that is the ID you also need to enter then to join my call. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we need to have that same ID. So how then can we get this? Well, this will be passed by the user creating that meeting, and then the user should just send you that. Okay, so like you saw in the beginning of the video where I tested the app, you saw me enter certain number, and then the next user should also enter that same number to get the same call ID. I hope that makes sense. You can ask me in the comment if you have any question. So for this part, we can't really magically conjure a number. We could, but I don't want to do that. So what we are going to do is we are going to get this from the constructor when we call this call screen. Okay, so what I'll go ahead and do is go ahead and create a variable here. So we'll make this final string, and then we'll just call it the same name. So we'll call it call ID, and then go ahead and then add this to your constructor. I like to break this down a little bit. All right, so call ID is fixed. Now things like the user ID, username. Now, if you had a formal system where you had a backend or you had a proper login system, then you can pull the user IDs and you can pull the usernames from that. Okay. So, but what we can do is we can use, let's say a random number to generate the user ID every time. So I'm going to go all the way up, and you know what? I don't need any of these, so let me get rid of them. Oops, why did I go and delete? Oh, okay. I get it. So I'm going to remove this and then rather import material. So simply go ahead and do this. I don't know why all of a sudden they tend to import framework a lot. All right, so I'm going to go way above all of this, and I'm just going to create a final and what do I call this? You know what, just call it user ID. And I'm going to assign this to random, and this is from that math. So once I set this, and you can see it brings in that, then I'm going to say next int. So this is simply going to randomize to the next integer, and then they're asking for the max size, so we can enter something like 1,000. So we are going to get random values from within at a max of 1,000, so we can get from 0 to 1,000. Okay, so we are put in that range. Then notice how this is a string. Okay, so we can't fully use this yet, so we just need to convert this to string, and we can go ahead and then use it. So you can see, since I used the same name, it picked it up. Okay, now the other thing here is the username. Now if you wanted, you could just type in a name if you wanted, and I think I'm going to do that, but this is purely hard coding. So I'm just going to put this there, and then in fact I'm going to add in the user ID that I have. So I'm going to say user ID. So what will happen is I'm going to have my name and then my user ID. So if you see happy, and then probably I should put in an underscore here. So you'll see happy underscore, and then maybe 10, 20, 200, something like that. And then this config here is pretty simple. We just need to use the Zego UI kit pre-built call config. I know it's a very lengthy name, but it is what is going to get the job done. So this is what we need. And then using the dot operator, I don't need this bracket yet. So using the dot operator, we are going to access the one-on-one video call, because that's what we are doing. So you can see how they provide these options for you. We are doing the one-on-one video call and not voice call, so we are going to pick that. Okay, so I shouldn't have deleted the bracket there, so I brought it back. Now at this point this will still work, but then you can also set this up in a way that if it's just you alone in the room, then you can easily pop the context or go back. Okay, so we can use the spread operator just like this, and then we can use the only self in room. Okay, and this we are just going to assign it a context, and then we want to use the arrow function, or you can just use this curly braces, and then use the navigator, and then we want to pop. So this is going to probably just kill that page, if I can say that. And if I'm not mistaken, pretty much that's the setup. Okay, now you didn't have to create this and type all of these yourself. Like I said, everything is right here. You could just copy paste this and modify it, but I just wanted to do this and then let you guys have a feel of it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is configure our project. So as you can see, we would need to set up a number of things. So, and they've laid down everything perfectly. So we need to head on to our build.gradle, which you can locate here, and then change the compile SDK to 33, as you can see. And then also in the same place, we'll change the main SDK version to 21. So let's head on and do that. So we would head on to, so let me just twirl this back up. So we'll head on to Android app, and then the build.gradle, and we are looking for the compile SDK version. So we are going to change this, so get rid of this, and then we make it 33. And then in the same file, we are looking for the minimum SDK version, which is right here, and then we can also change this to 21. Let me just cross check if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 21. And you can see they've shown you screenshots on how to do this, which is super helpful. Now the next thing we want to do is go on to the Android manifest and add these permissions. This is required by Android, so that if you, whatever feature your app is going to use, be it camera, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, you need to state it right there so that the user can agree to allow or not to. So I'm you know what, I'm not going to type this even though I enjoy typing, so I'm just going to copy this. Let's head back, and for that file we would find the app manifest in our source file, the main folder, and then here's the manifest. Over here you want to place everything on top of the application, so I'm going to hit enter a few times and then paste this here. And just to make sure this is well indented, I'm just going to select everything and tab. Now the indentation doesn't really matter, but maybe some kind of OCD, I don't know. So once we have this done, we can go ahead and see the next step. Now the next step here is to prevent code obfuscation. This is really a difficult word to pronounce, and literally that simply means so most of the time when you have your executable, when code obfuscation happens, it kind of modifies the code so that if somebody hacks into it, it doesn't make sense anymore. Kind of like hashing, if I can say it that way. But then we don't want that to mess with the classes that we have. Okay, that might break the app. So we need to do this, okay, so that this prevents the obfuscation of the classes and SDK names. So we need to create this ProGuard rules.pro file. So I'm just going to copy that name, and then we can place that in. So where your project is Android app. Okay, so let's go back. So it said where our project is Android and app, it needs to be in here. Okay, it needs to be inside, not inside source, it needs to be in here. So I'm going to right click here and create a new file, and then I'll paste that name in there and then hit enter. So just make sure it is not inside this. So you can see this is the inside of source, you see this is outside. Okay, so inside that file we simply need to place this line of code in here. So copy that also and then drop this line in here. And then when we go back, the next thing we need to do is we need to place this line of code in the release section of what our build.gradle. So simply copy this. Let's head back, and we already should have that open on top here. So select that and then head on to the release session that is right here. And then let's place this down below. And literally that is it if you're on Windows. Now unfortunately I can't show you how to do this on Mac because for whatever reason I need to have Xcode just to do this, so that's unfortunate. But you can see everything is laid out nicely here for you. So all you have to do is just follow this guide as we did for the Windows version, or should I say the Android version, and then you can see everything here. It's just that I don't have Xcode to configure this part, but just follow this and you'll be done. And as you can see, once we are done, we just need to run this test. So like I said, creating the UI is going to be the part that actually probably is difficult, if I can say that. So let's go ahead and configure our UI. All right, so we are back in our home screen here, and I'm going to get rid of this cons for the meantime because I know I'll end up not needing it over there. So inside here, I'm going to, in the body, we are going to return a safe area, and the child of the safe area is going to be a column. And of course, we know a column is going to take some children. And the first child of the column, let me put some commas here, is going to be a text widget. And then this is going to say, welcome to Zego Video. Seems like a legit app, you know. And then let's style this a bit. So we are going to say style, and then we're going to say text style. And then I'm interested in the font size, let's say 40. I don't know how big that is going to be. And then the font weight, we are going to use bold. And I think this is fine. I know these lines may be annoying, but we'll soon fix that. So let me put the comma here, and then let's save this and see what we have. Okay, this looks kind of too big. So let's make this let's say 35. That's fine. I should probably bring it down, but you know what, I'm not going to worry myself over this. So I think the next thing, I'll actually create some padding here. So I'm going to wrap the column with a padding widget and a padding of 8. Is it good? Maybe I brought back to the same issue. So I think I'll just leave it so that we don't waste a lot of time here. So the next thing I want to do is to add the image. So right after the text, I'm going to create a concise box. And then I'm going to give this a height of about, let's say 20. No, I'm just skipping all the steps I need to take to make this responsive. I just want to show you how to integrate this. So I'm just creating a very simple UI. So the next thing is we are going to use the image.asset, and then we know it is in the assets /images/ it's called I don't remember what it's called, but I think it's called video, and this is a JPG file, I believe. Yeah, so it shows over here. Now this is an extension I use. I think it's called image preview. That shows you if you've got the right path. Okay, so we can test this out if we save, and there it is. Now I want to make this fit, so I'm going to use the fit option, and then we can use the box fit, and then we'll use cover. All right, so right after that, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this here just to use the same spacing. And then I think I need a size box also again. So I'm going to place this here. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give this a height of about 50 maybe. And then you'll soon see what I'm doing, and a width of about, I'm not really sure for now, let's say 100. And then I'll give this a child, and this child is going to be an elevated button. And the child of this elevated button, of course, needs to be a text widget. And then this text is just going to say, let's say join call. Let me format this so we can see properly. And then we need to also make sure we have the unpressed. And then for now, this is just going to be an empty function. Okay. And then let's go ahead. I'll just copy the styling I used here. And then I'm going to drop that in here after a comma. And I think this can be 30. Save this. And that's too small. That's too small. So we need to make the width a little bit more. So let's say 200. Okay, that's fine. And I almost forgot, because I need to have a text field where I can put this in there. So what I'm going to do is just click on the text and then click on this icon and then say add const modifiers everywhere in the file. So it will add it everywhere it is needed. So after my image, I actually need to have a text field. So I'm going to place this here, and in between I'm going to have my text field, and this is going to be a very simple text field, nothing complicated. So I'm going to give this a style, and VS Code, and I'm going to use the text style. Probably should have just copied what is there, and then give the font size of about 25. And let's make this bold. Font weights, let's make this bold. My keyboard keys are getting stuck. So you can see we have this right here. Then the next thing we want to do is go ahead and style this a little bit. So I can do the same thing. I'm going to go into the text field and we are going to call decoration, and we want the input decoration. And then here I'm going to use the border and then use the outline input border property here. And if you want, you can use the border radius, which is fine. I'll leave this as it is. And this is too wide for me because I'm not going to really, it's just a short number I'm going to enter. So what I'll do is I'll wrap this also in a size box. And I'll give this a width of about 50. How does 50 look like? Oh, that's too small. Let's say 200. Yeah, I think that's fine. 200 is perfect. So let's go ahead and fix all of these. So like we did earlier, just select this and our light bulb won't show. Where are you, light bulb? Okay, there it is. Add const modifiers, and that should fix our problem. Now, of course, if our keyboard is to pop up, I have disabled mine, we would have issues. Okay, and then I'm also going to cater for what is being put in here. I'm just trying to keep this simple and not make this video unnecessarily long, so you may have to validate for the meeting ID, stuff like that, but that is gibberish the person is putting in, or it's actually actual text that is making sense. So what I'm going to do next is create a controller that we can actually get access to the user meeting ID. So right here, we're going to create a final, and I'll call it call controller. Oops. Call controller. And this is going to be equal to a text editing controller. And that's all we need. So let's not forget to dispose this. So you can type dis, call the dispose function. And then we can simply say call controller. Oops. Call controller dot dispose, so that whenever we are not using this, it is disposed from memory and not eating up anything. So we can head back to our text box and then add a controller. So if I can find the text box, so sorry, text field, no wonder I couldn't find it. So we are going to add in our controller here, and we are going to call this the call controller. So it says it's an invalid constant value, so I'm going to get rid of this const, and then let's add it here. So that solves that issue. Now it might just be safer to wrap this safe area in a single child scroll view. So let's make this single child scroll view. Save this. All right, so we're almost done, and if you want, you could try to center this. I think it wouldn't really matter, but yeah, I'll just leave it as it is so that we don't waste any more time. Okay, so now we can go ahead and then configure the unpressed action. So we wonder when this button is pressed, we need to take the call ID here and then pass it to, if I can find my files, let me just hide all of this and pass it to the call screen here. Remember, we need to pass this call ID, which will be taken from the constructor here. So if I go back to the home screen here, all we need to do is, I'm just going to remove that and use the arrow function. And then we need to navigate to that particular page. So navigator.push, and then we already know the context, and we are going to use our usual material page route, and then our builder, we are going to pass in the context over there. Oops, not context. And then I'm going to use my arrow function here, and then simply call the call screen. And this is going to require the call ID, as I mentioned, and we can get this call ID from the call controller dot text property. So the text that we are going to receive from the call controller. Let's format this, and then go ahead and add some comments to make this a lot more beautiful to look at. Okay, so this is it, as you can see. So if everything works out right, I'm going to put in an ID here. So let me save this. I'm going to put in a meeting ID here and probably, let's say, sorry about that. I'm going to say 222323 and hit join call. Now, as you can see, nothing is really happening, and that's because I did not refresh the application. I have to rebuild because we changed the SDK, we changed a whole lot of things. So this is my bad, and I'm glad I did that, because you can see even here they tell you to build your application again. I just didn't. So in case you did and you're wondering why it's not working, just stop the application and then go back to your main.dat file and then run it. So let's go ahead and run without debugging. Right, so after it's built, so as you can see, I've just been told there's a new version of Flutter, so probably I'll be updating very soon. So once this is done, let's try this again. So let's say 1, 2, 3, and I hit join call. So you can see everything is working now. So this is coming from the permissions that we added. So we, of course, if you want to make use of pictures and then record video, then we need to accept. So I like to always use while using the app. And then also, if you are going to, of course, speak, we also need to make sure we have access to the mic. So I'm going to also hit this. And yeah, this is weird, but you can see this is from the Android emulator, since it doesn't have like a physical camera that it will show you. So you can see there is this weird thing over there. Now if I click on the screen, you can see it brings out all of these, and I didn't have to touch this. This is just coming from the pre-built UI kit, which is very, very awesome. I really stress this is really awesome. Okay, so the best way we can test this is to build this on another application and then see for yourself. So I went ahead and installed the app on my physical phone, so just so that you can see it properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain the 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hit join call, and then what I'm going to do is enter the same 1, 2, 3 on my physical device and then also hit join call. As you can see, the two devices are connected, and this might be interfering, so I'm going to turn off the mic. Yeah, so just as this is done, you can see all these options are there for us. The same options are also present. I can flip my camera and you can see my screen over here. Okay, so, and you would also notice we have the happy 726, and then we have down here we have happy 397. So remember, I had coded those values over there. So if you go to the call screen, we had happy, and then it's our user ID that is generated differently. So if you had a login, sorry, just hit my mic. If you had a login system, you could just use their names or login IDs, and then you'll be good to go. And of course, if either of us hangs up, the call is going to hang up. So I'm going to hang up on my physical device, and as you can see, it hangs up. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would urge you all to check out ZEGOCLOUD, check out their user-friendly APIs and SDKs, and see what you can build for yourself. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.